have these types of vehicles as well. Cook your own biofuels. And don't just stop with your facility. Go to the community. Find out how much fry oil is being used in your community. Now, we did share another funny story. I had one of my grad student interns was a young fellow finishing his PhD here at Georgia Tech. And John was as analytical and as, you know the type. I mean, he was focused at the books, and that was that. And I looked at him one day, I said, John, we got to figure out how much fry oil is used in LaGrange, because I wanted to use fry oil to power some of the equipment at the landfill. Okay, get the diesel load off. I mean, if y'all been buying diesel for a while, it's $3 plus a gallon. This isn't fun. I see somebody nodding their head, yeah. Now, if you have an opportunity to cook your own fry oil, that cost is gone. Yeah, you got some methanolysis issues you've got to deal with. You've got to invest. This is a little more of an expensive project. But anyhow, I said to John, I said, we got to figure it out. He said, oh, he says, I don't know how to do that. He says, there's nothing here. I said, well, we're going to do a redneck due diligence. I said, get me the yellow pages. So I got the yellow page. I said, turn to R. So he turned to R, and he's looking at me like I'm from Mars. And I said, R for restaurant. Count all the restaurants in LaGrange. Knock out 20% of them because they're pizza places and they don't fry. And then we're going to go visit the greasiest spoon we could find, which happened to be one of my favorite restaurants called Hog Heaven. So when you guys come down to LaGrange, I'll take you to Hog Heaven. So we go to Hog Heaven. I know the lady who runs the place. It's a barbecue place. I said, how much fry oil do you guys use a week? And she said, we use 10, 15 gallons depending on what's going on. So very quickly we found out how much fry oil they were using, and they're pretty typical of what's going on. But I also found one other very interesting fact. She says, Dave, she said, there's a nice young man in Noonan who we don't have to dispose of this anymore. He came and put a container out, and all we have to do is pour it in the container. Now I find out there's infrastructure. Ooh, I got competition. Isn't this interesting? People are seeing these opportunities, folks, and you're sitting right on top of them yourself. And in a lousy climate, economic climate that we have, these projects are golden because not only do they save you money, they provide a mechanism and a conduit for your students to learn from. Both of my kids are in graduate school right now. They are free labor. If you've not used graduate students or you haven't been a graduate student, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a wonderful way for them to learn. And you all have the same thing in your institutions. Use these kids. This is exactly the kind of information, education that they need. And if it's nothing more than establishing your data collection or establishing, a composting facility or establishing I'm just using these as an example. There's many more. We can stay here till next week, and I'd love to continue this conversation. But these types of opportunity are within and without your organization. So your community in greater context is part of who you are because that's part of your focus. Institutions, and I have done sustainability analyses on very large institutions, and another funny story, I won't tell you who it was, but we're going through, and when you do thermodynamic analysis, if we have any engineers in here, you do energy and mass balances. And I'm a mass balance fanatic. And the reason why is transfer of mass is what's creating our problems in sustainability and environmental degradation and so on and so forth. It creates why this room is here, how much air comes into this room, and how much lights are into this room. It's how many people march through here. And when you start looking at this and drawing these system boundaries around a university, you have to decide, what does a university manufacture? Okay, generally a manufactured product is something you gain revenue from. Now this is a major university. Okay, so what are the things that universities gain revenue from? Education, research, outreach, and boy did we hit a stumbling block. Anybody know what it is? Football. Baby, they ran kicking and screaming from the football program, and this is one of the major football programs on the planet. I said, wait a minute. That's a heck of a revenue generator, and it's a heck of a materials consumption program. We couldn't finish the sustainability analysis because they wouldn't accept, even though it's in their cost statement, it's in their revenue statement, they absolutely would not accept that to brand the university because they wanted to be known as an educational institution. Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm not trying to say rebrand yourself as a football school, and but that's just part of their cost. But these are some of the stumbling blocks when you look at these things and you start to say, well, okay, who am I, what am I, and so on. And but I still think it would have been a fun analysis to do, to see exactly how that impacted other things and other issues in the university. And besides, the concession probably generated more waste vegetable oil than all the campus programs put together, but that's another story. Okay. So we've conserved we've collected information, we've established baselines, we've Paretoed big to small. Pick your battles very, very focused based on use, whether it's normalized or not. The very last bullet there is something that I think everybody's familiar with, is reduce, reuse, recycle for savings. And we've already talked about a lot of this. And really, when you do your data retrieval, you want to look at all utilities, electricity, kilowatt hours, demand. Power factor probably isn't a real play for most of y'all. Demand is important for me because there are strategies of peak shaving, particularly if you're summer demand dependent. If your peak, if the shape of your consumption curve is a frown and you're seeing a top-loaded demand rate on that's happening as a result of air conditioning load or chillers or what have you, there are ways to put non-electric motors on these devices. Still have your chilled water, but all you do is you just put a natural gas-fired recip on there, and you do a combined heat and power system. You harvest the water jacket heat for hot water. Works great. Now, it's a little more expensive than turn things off and, that sort of thing. But these are the kind of projects that are very non-traditional, people don't think about. And boy, let me tell you something, that whacks the heck out of demand. I mean, it chops the top right off of that curve. And you combine the cycle and you get a benefit of two energy sources for your facility. And so, of course, whenever you're doing your data retrieval, you want to do gas, liquids, and solid fuels. I've had facilities where they've had all three fuel sources. An issue of water and sewer, we were talking about metered water. Do you disconnect sewer from that? Do you get metered for sewer based on your water consumption? Or
I do stormwater and sewer based on square footage.
Okay.
Let me ask you another
Yes,
question
sir.
about that demand.
Mm-hmm.
Buildings with a two-pipe system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're in April, which means
Mm-hmm.
it's 30 degrees at night.
Mm-hmm.
90 degrees.
Beginning of the shoulder season, right? Mm-hmm.
So, is there any way to handle that demand? Because buildings cool down at night.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's cold. Now it's starting
Mhm.
to heat up. You can turn the chiller on. It's going to take a while for it to
Mhm.
chill that
Mhm.
building. By the
Mhm.
time it chills it, it's getting colder.
Mm-hmm.
So your demand on that chiller is always up here.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the heat
Mhm.
is always up here. Is there anything that's done about it?
Just a control system to get it started up earlier when you need it and shut it down when you don't need it. I mean, if, in fact, we had kind of a similar conversation to this in the last session. One fellow was having problems with a problem with a control system on his carrier system, and I would make sure that carrier was there. His controls didn't work, and basically what he could do at this point is just simply go to the MCC and turn the thing off. I mean, I wouldn't, I'm not so sure I'd continue doing that for a long period of time, but that's still a strategy. I mean, just turn the dumb thing off. Now, that said, that puts the onus on you to be there every day, same time.